pointed out, hey, it's the 15-minute mark.
What I want to see from Nova, not from Long specifically on this Jax, to not fall in the 0-7-11 trap last time, where they do not pick champions, no utility to help facilitate Long. Look what J-Team is doing. They're getting Karma, they're getting Galio. Picks that help Long survive in these fights.
A classic combo here for J-Team. The Galio marked well with the Camille. You can trap someone with the Hextech Ultimatum. Easy knockup potential.
The thing about getting both Karma and Galio for J-Team is it indicates what their entire game plan is. This is a team that plays to their AD carry. This is a team that plays to Barry. And that is the missing link in this draft so far. This draft so far indicates we're going to see a hard-scaling duelist or a hard-scaling teamfight carry from Barry who can scale into game-winning 5v5 team fights.
And I think that's the biggest question, because Nova, look at their bans. They've basically removed Lucian and Olaf as well for Cherry to unlock that big early game. He did play Vayne, he did play Draven in the past, but when you're up against Nova with their composition, are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, and normally you'd look at like a Varus in this draft. Varus not great though as your soul damage dealer.
Nope.
And we're seeing Remake back on this Orianna, which is such a deadly late game teamfight killer.
And I want to flag back to the Last Chance qualifier series where Nova recognized when J-Team started coming back, almost taking that series away, it was off of Barry's Orianna. They remember history. They say, we're not letting you have that champion.
So here we go, all about the Draven, the Jace coming out here.
Yeah, this is super interesting because we're looking for consistent damage and they do not have that. This is a very melee-centric composition where J-Team is going to be all in Nova's face, which is going to be completely interesting because Nova has a similar draft, except the fact that Corki differentiates that dynamic.
So what's popping into my head right now is this could mean that the Karma is being played by Barry, and they are playing through mid. They're putting that Jace in mid, playing through Pan, pulling out that Jace. But this would mean that all of their damage was coming from the top side of the map. This would mean that their entire game plan revolved around Dawn, Cherry, doing the vast majority of the damage.
Exactly. J-Team has to win this game early to make sure that their early game carries is able to transition well. And meanwhile for Nova, you're fine if the game transcends into the later stages of the game. You've got Long, you've got Neon on the Corki. J-Team restricting themselves into the early to mid game.
So let's talk about the Nova roster, because we do know exactly what's going on there. This is a very late scaling teamfight composition. This is going to do really well at finding isolated picks. This is going to do really well, especially in 5v5 teamfights. Orianna, Corki, the deadliest late game team, only got here on a technicality because OMG weren't able to make it. They weren't supposed to play on this stage, and they fought their way through the play-ins, and they fought their way here to a grand finals for a chance at revenge.
And it wasn't easy. That journey wasn't easy. During the playoffs, knockout stages, they had to knock out Flash Wolves and Team Flash. Two of the best teams coming from the WCS region, and look at them now.
Nova Esports on the other side fought their way through the biggest names in China, literally FPX, the team that won the regular season. These two teams both coming all the way from the play-ins. Played probably the most games you can possibly play to reach finals.
And I think it's insane, right? The fact that we're seeing two of these teams come from the play-in stage up until now. No #1 seeds from any of the region for our grand finalists today.
So let's start things off with the early game. Both these junglers are pretty late scaling, which means that all of our action is probably going to come from lanes. I'm looking in particular at the early presence in mid, where Pan can get aggressive, and the early presence in the top side, where Dawn can get aggressive.
And that's where level 5 comes around for J-Team, because you have the Hextech Ultimatum, you have the proper CC to lock targets down. One very aggressive lane that we're looking at is Barry and DY. He's on the Galio, Barry's on a aggressive champion as well. The fact that Remake right now, absolutely squishy, no Archangel Staff just yet, that's going to be a vulnerable lane, and that's why we see Cherry hovering around a little bit at bot.
Are they going to go for a dive? Yes, they are. DY with the Justice Punch flash. Cherry comes in for reinforcements, and it is first blood of the grand finals for Icons.
Yami instantly picked up. Remake survives, scraping out of the fight along the side wall. Nova will be counting their blessings for that, but they do not have an answer on the map to the early J-Team aggression.
Absolutely. That's long on the Jax. He still has to farm. He still has to wait for the Rift Herald fights if they want to activate anything for their early lead.
And I think that's a really good read from J-Team, recognizing that they have more early game power through the Galio in particular for these startup fights. They've also got that, as we were talking about, up top with the Renekton.
And I think it's crazy because Cherry, is not even level 5 yet, so imagine once level 5 comes, yes!
Well, that's what's going to make them so deadly in these late game fights. If J-Team were able to get a gold lead in particular, and they're able to snowball onto key targets, like Remake, like Neon, at the back of these fights, with Hextech Ultimatum, Jace full commit, the Galio on top of that, they're going to delete individual targets. Nova look better in the 5v5s, the slower team fights.
Massive props over to J-Team for making Camille work on that first gank. Yami wants to find a response after what happened in the early game, but Dawn has Cherry in his back pocket, and suddenly Yitzi and Yami have to turn tail. Only Dominus has been popped, no Summoner's Burn from Nova.
Amazing rotation coming from Yami, making sure that he's able to either assist, as long as transitioning over topside. They were also planning the same thing. They were planning to eliminate Dawn, the transition to make sure that they get early turret plates for long, and then transition to Rift Herald. But J-Team prevented that with Cherry's gank.
I do want to flag, we've got all the action in this side lanes, looking pretty good for J-Team. Also in the middle of the map, Pan has just been quietly farming up, and he's got a gold advantage. He's going to be really, really scary once we get into these first couple of fights. The mid-game is where Jace is at their scariest. If they have a gold lead, they can disrespect turrets, they can run at you, they can find free kills.
If we think about back to J-Team's first ever series at Icons during the play-in stage, Pan on this Jace got a pentakill, the very first pentakill of the tournament. If there's going to be a character that could make this champion pop off despite the late game tendency to fall off, it would be Pan.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is J-Team making sure that they have all the utility for the rest of their members, especially Pan, to take off. They've got a lot of shield, they've got magic shields to boot, versus Remake here that we already talked about being absolutely scary in the later stages of the game.
So, J-Team, their early aggression is going well.
Yeah.
As we get into these first objectives, we're waiting on the Rift Herald, we're waiting on the Dragon to spawn. They're probably going to prioritize that Rift Herald, because it's all about snowballing their lead. Getting that giant snowball rolling downhill and collecting more snow and getting bigger and bigger. And that means play through the top side, get that Rift Herald, turn it into a turret advantage. Take a turret, get the gold from that, turn that into invading the enemy jungle.
Yes, and putting Long more on the back foot. They have a lot of answers to do this. The Hextech Ultimatum, you primarily use that towards Long, and I'm looking forward to see that to fruition in this Rift Herald fight.
Both of these objectives have spawned. Yitze and Dawn had a 1v1 brawl. Both expended their ultimates. No summoners burned here. Yitze is going to be late.
J-Team are getting greedy. They're contesting the bottom side.
Huge knockup from Yami. Gets the flash out of DY. Is able to distance himself before the root comes in from Barry. The rest of
Yami
Nova
low.
focusing down this dragon, but it resets. So they're losing out on time. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Dawn is burning down the tower. Doesn't get it down quite yet because Yitze comes to defend.
Little bit messy. J-Team were trying to burn down that Rift Herald there, and Jerry had to rotate down from the Rift Herald when the fight got sketchy. Now they're trapped in this knockdown, drag-out, stall fight down bottom, when I suspect they just wanted to poke at it while Cherry got the Rift Herald up top.
And I feel like there's going to be take 2 of that because DY and Barry are still here. They can have Winds of War, they can poke using the Inner Fire, and they're keeping Nova so busy right now.
Yami looks for another knockup here onto Barry. Is forced out. Hasn't popped either exhaust or flash. Dragon burned down by Long is secured. Cherry, meanwhile, picks up Rift Herald on the other side of the map. Pan forced to flash away to the left side of the flank. Dawn comes in for the rotate. Cherry almost thinks about diving Yitze, but backs off.
But they're also low HP. Here comes the Rift Herald.
It's about to crash, and they're going to get First Blood Tower. And
they're stalling them.
Yeah, they're stalling them, but they're still going to get it. Absolutely. There you go. But look at top side. That's also about to fall. J-Team is getting everything off of the map.
This is absolutely fantastic. J-Team have stalled the recalls from Nova. They got so much tempo rewarded for them off of an objective play that only should have been maybe one turn at most.
Long in trouble.
Cherry forced to flash over the wall. Yami! Long smites him down.
A very important pickup for Nova Esports because Their early game has gone so disastrously wrong. They're almost maybe going to lose this top turret to minions, which should never be happening to a team of this caliber. And this stabilization, Long getting a kill, is the first sign of life they've demonstrated so far. In order to come back into this game at this point, they need to do that. Stall out, slow down the game, play through the side lanes, and get Long individual picks.
Yeah, exactly right. This Long having a 500 gold lead more or less is a good sign, especially as long as they slow down the bleed. But if we look at the map state right now, J-Team basically took 3 towers within 1 minute. That is, I count the top tower basically dead. It's basically dead.
Yeah, the fact that it's only a 1-for-1 kill on the map, but 2 turrets, that's why we have a 3,000 gold lead netted over for J-Team. And now they're the ones that are in full control of the map as we head into this mid-game.
So, perfect situation for J-Team. What are their problems? Well, they get worse as the game goes on. But because they control so much of the map, they can push into the Nova Esports jungle and take away their farm, make it hard for Nova to reach the minion waves to get gold there. So this gold lead should continue to grow because of the advantage J-Team earned on the map, which will nullify the advantage Nova earn as the game goes later.
And that's why Nova is having a hard time trying to fight back at the moment, because they're always at a numbers disadvantage. You always want some of the members try to wave clear, and this team composition from Nova requires them to be together to make sure that Long and Neon lives.
And so you can see that J-Team want to keep this ball rolling. They're pushing in, they're trying to find fights, they're trying to force as many advantages as possible whilst they have the lead. And Nova have a very difficult call to make. At some point here, they need to take a disadvantaged fight, a fight that will not be favored to them, even though it's dangerous, because it is their only way back into the game.
And it might be sooner than they would prefer, because that next dragon is going to be an Infernal one. If you give that over to J-Team, even the late game scaling power of the champions that Nova have might not be enough for J-Team.
But if they wait too long, if they don't fight for this Infernal, then the Infernal goes to them, and even without the Infernal, the gold will just add up. J-Team runs so much of the map that the numbers will get too skewed for them to fight. So they need to take a fight even though they're disadvantaged, and they need to figure out a good way to do it around this Infernal.
So far for Nova, right? Like, we're talking about slowing the game for themselves to still remain in this game. And I don't think the Orianna and the Corki wave clear will be enough, because, again, time is running out. They'll lose this map control, or losing map control at the moment so far, and this Infernal Drake will help J-Team accelerate their scaling, basically.
So only way back in is to throw a Haymaker, is for Nova to find a couple members of J-Team called out and force a fight.
And I feel like the pressure is on Yami and Remake to engage for them, to force a fight. But it's so difficult, because look at what's going on right now. Yami's tagging along with Long. Remake is forced to wave clear elsewhere. So if you don't have these components, you cannot start a fight.
This is the break point, though. We've just seen Archangel's staff completed on Remake, so that Orianna is starting to do damage, and the package is up, meaning that Neon can come and fight for the objective with that massive damage boost.
And you can see that J-Team have full control of this Rift Herald. Nova don't even dare try to contest it.
They gotta contest this.
They have to get more resources into Remake, because look
Wow!
how far down he is in gold. It's almost 2,000.
A lot.
And a lot of that is, Neon caught out here. Needs to make the great escape.
Stealthing.
He's
back.
trying to recall. Yami trying to rescue him.
But he's stuck in Hextech Ultimatum. Thankfully, with the damage reduction on his ult, he gets out alive, but that is an important ult gone for the fight.
Package picked up. Here comes Nova.
Here we go.
They need to fight for this Infernal Drake, or this game is over.
And that's a very tiny window that they should accelerate. Good thing Cherry doesn't have ult just yet. This is the teeny tiny window that we're talking about, and that's not a lot.
Yeah, the key thing they need to do in this fight, protect their backline, protect Remake, protect Neon, make sure they are operating for as long as possible. Slow down the fight and let that Orianna damage add up.
Exactly. What Nova has that J-Team doesn't have is very strong poke. Poke them out before you're comfortable engaging with the big shockwave knockup coming from Yami and Remake.
Oh, look at this. J-Team, they threw down the Rift Herald, so now they're forcing Nova into a conundrum
Very
here.
clever. Splitting the fight, forcing Nova to deal with the Rift Herald, pushing down mid, otherwise they might lose even an inhibitor. Long!
Wait, Long is in there without the rest of the members there. Nova gets another 2-man knockup with Yami. Can they follow up the package? Neon is looking for the angle. That's a beautiful package. It splits J-Team down the middle, but Cherry is able to distance himself with a beautiful flash. Neon is stuck, flashing over the wall with the but it's Barry that follows up, singles out the
J-Team, their target prioritization, they made sure that the primary target that they should eliminate first is Long. If you kill him, no problem in the next few fights.
And they played it so well around his positioning, isolating him, dealing with other aggressors who were trying to draw their focus, and then returning to fight him once they had enough members. He didn't get the 1v1s, the 2v1s even, that he wanted. He never had those chains of stuns that could have turned the fight in his favor.
And so far, as you can see, there's the Shockwave. Big Shockwave, nothing, because it's just an Archangel staff. That's more for defensive. So the big Shockwave engage that we're looking for is not there yet. It's primarily for Long and Nian to deal the damage. But look at this fight. Look at this.
4v2, despite it being even on the map, despite there being an equivalent number of players up, it's a 4v2 in the fight because of how well J-Team play it. And now they're pushing forward with the Infernal in their pocket, with complete control of this map, with the Baron spawning in 10 seconds, looking for game number 1 of this Grand Finals.
J-Team have already found a pick on a remake during the replay. He's down for another 20 seconds. This buys more time for J-Team to secure more turrets and more pressure on the map.
And everything from J-Team right now, look at what they're building. Double Blade of the Ruin King, by the way, because they know that if they build, stack up more of that damage, Long is not gonna survive at all.
And those team fights, as we saw, are all about burst. J-Team don't win an extended brawl, so they need to isolate members, play the team fight well in communication, and burn down single targets.
Dawn might be caught out here. Yami gets the knockup down. Dawn doesn't
That's
have
a big
flash from
mistake.
before. Dominus, the stun coming in from Yami, but Stasis is popped. One man knockup, Neon comes in. Can't get the last rocket. No! He survives! But the two-man knockup from Yami finds another one. And did J-Team just get themselves
still
baited
going.
into it? Nova have not dropped a single member, and that's 2 off the field for J-Team.
Baron is up on the map, and Nova Esports have stalled it out. Guaranteed that J-Team can't take the Baron, and they're going to press this advantage as much as they can, try to close the gold gap, and keep this game going.
Yeah, look at Pan here, his positioning. I don't think they can defend this second-tier tower, but that's going to hurt.
2 turrets.
2 turrets, that's going to hurt a lot because what you just said, TJ, Baron is up. That's going to have a lot of pressure towards the bottom side, and right now, J-Team, this is scary.
Yeah, for the first time this game, Long has a gold lead. He's 1,000 gold ahead after this exchange. These have participated in every single kill. So Nova Esports find a straggler, a big mistake from Dawn, and now they're going to keep this game going for another 5-10 minutes. And at some point, we will cross the threshold where Long is able to solo carry these fights, where the big scaling damage dealers of Nova are doing damage, and their big scaling tanks are unkillable. J-Team need to force this game to a close. The pressure is now back on them.
Exactly, TJ. Remember, J-Team's composition has no consistent damage dealers like an AD carry. They do not have, and therefore, if they throw their bodies onto towards Nova...
All right, onto DY. Can he buy as much time as he can for the rest of J-Team? Dawn is looking around the corner. They jump right onto the Crocodile. Get his flash scout. Get the Dominus out. Neon gets caught up in the Transcendent Embrace, but is able to Valkyrie away. Cherry on the left side, looking for Yami onto the backside. That's the poke down from J-Team. Snipes on Yami, but it's a re-engage from Long. Finds the counter-strike stun. Goes golden. Has the stasis. Going invulnerable. Tapping another stasis from Pan, but he's separated. He flashes over the wall. He's out of there!
That's an insane fight. So many stasis, there's so much stalling in these fights, and in the end, Long doesn't drop his Guardian Angel. It still survives. Hey, take note, he still has flash.
And this is an incredible win for Nova. No, they don't leave the fight with an advantage, but they trade support for support, and they delay J-Team taking any kind of significant lead in this game for a couple moments longer. We're now past the 15-minute mark, which means these late-game compositions, these late-game characters are building their third item or hitting their power spikes, and it's going to start to be almost impossible to kill Yami, almost impossible to out-damage Remake and Long in these fights.
And the fact that Long, okay, he's naturally gaining power stats, attack stats, and now he's building Death Stance, Guardian Angel, much harder to kill versus Cherry right now, who decides to say, hey, I need to match this defensiveness, and I'm gonna do that.
And despite having control of the game, J-Team never took a Baron, never took an inhib, which means this is still anyone's game, and not only do we have the Baron on the map, we also have the Elder Drake on the map in just about 20 seconds, which means that this game, or game 1 of our Grand Finals, is going to come down to a 5v5 Elder Dragon fight.
I wouldn't have it any other way, guys. Nova getting ready to enter into the river, but they have to fight for mid-wave control first.
We'll see that, though. Remember, Neon Remake has a lot of poke right now in this game, at this point of the game. And meanwhile, look at Long. He's very pressed forward.
It's all about the engage for J-Team. They need to find Remake, they need to find Dion, they need to shut down Long in the fight before there's a proper brawl.
Whoa!
It's all about that burst that you just saw on your screen right now, the second they see Remake.
It's Rabadon's berry! It's not a utility berry, Karma! It's full AP carry!
So if he spots an open window, if he spots Remake stepping too far forward, he's going to be able to burst him down to half HP. And that's the combo that J-Team need to win this fight. They need to find somebody important and blow them up before the action can begin.
And what's important...
There we go!
Cherry finds Remake, gets the stasis out. Hextech Ultimatum is burned up. That's one engage tool gone from J-Team.
I just wanted to say that Long still has Death's Dance, still has Guardian Angel. They need to remove that first before they can win.
They're tapping the Elder. This forces Nova.
DY dodges out on the knockup from Yami. They're getting the root down, forced to pop the ultimate for damage reduction. The dragon was dragged off. It's reset.
And all J-Team need to do is keep tapping this Elder.
Yeah.
And Nova will keep having to walk into darkness, into danger, or give up the Elder. They're choosing to wait because they know they have the package. They know they have an item buy for Remake. He's racing into this fight.
They're burning it down. Long, you got to face check if you want to get a chance to get back in this
on
feet.
Elder.
But J-Team, they stalled it out. There's enough time for Neon to now walk in with package. 7,000 HP. Nova, they're the ones that now can challenge for the dragon. They're the ones with the onus to burn down the dragon. They have to force J-Team to walk into them, to walk into a package. You have Yitse finding a 1v1. Oh, huge transcendent embrace. The package is going to separate the members of J-Team away from each other. Yami and Long onto the left side of the fight. Jerry looking for Neon. He's got the Hextech Ultimatum. He's separated from the rest of the fight. He's got no more reinforcements for the rest of Nova. Is Long, can he clean it up? He's still got a GA. He's still living, but now he has to fight a 1v3. But he's got help. He's got Yami. He's got Yitse. The knockup on the parry. He's been isolated. Nova will win the fight.
Yitse left the fight and TP'd back into it in order to give Nova the edge, a bigger HP bar, and the Elder Dragon. They've come back into this game, Riku.
It's so crazy the fact that Long was basically 1v3ing the people from J-Team in the Dragon Fit. He's so fine, and he doesn't even lose his Guardian Angel.
Here's DY.
And Yami is giving no chance at all. No one can enter this pit. DY would have to time the gusts of Winds of War, but the smite from Long is accurate, precise. Elder is secured for Nova.
And because of DY's death, J-Team are going to have to scrabble for this Baron at a player disadvantage for the next 40 seconds.
Look at this fight. This is all basically J-Team try to leash. While it resets, Long still kept hammering at it. DY had an amazing taunt here.
DY's taunt is the Coca-Cola pop-off as far as I'm concerned.
And it's at this point, look at Long. He was 1v2ing people. Everyone was low health, just whacking at them. They both stasis, so they couldn't do a baton pass fight. And at this point, it's basically just clean up. Dawn did an amazing job going back, teleporting in, and get that more numbers advantage.
And you see kind of the perfect team fight for J-Team appear, and then it's a mirage.
God.
And they haven't dealt enough damage to Long, and he's able to sweep in through the back of the fight, stay alive, be the source of those TPs, and win the team fight and the game, maybe, for Nova Esports.
Another pickoff, maybe onto Cherry. It's Yitse that is forcing the fight. Cherry not going to burn the Hextech Ultimate anytime soon. Just as I say that, he locks him down. But it's a two-man knockup once again from Yami. And Cherry's been picked off. Transcendent Embrace slows Nova in their tracks. But you've got to deal with now Long, who is super fed. And he is on
this game's
line.
It's over.
Nova pushing forward, knocking down JT members one by one.
They waited too long.
They did. Again, that's the big 15-minute mark where Long is going to scale incredibly well, and no one at all can 1v1 him.
They're just diving past 3 towers, guys. They have no fear. They know that they have finally regained control of this game and are pushing for the win.
And J-Team gets sloppy a couple times in a row, leave isolated members alone, and it costs them game number 1 of this grand final.
Damn.
Whew.
Damn.
That was intense.
For Nova to come back after a 5,000, 6,000 gold deficit?
I know!
what?
I know!
She's making a big arm gesture right
yeah!
now.
It's shocking.
Spawns from JT come across because they have just generally
Wow.
greater team fighting power with their kit early on.
And this is crazy because I feel like J-Team got the best early game they could have possibly got, especially from that Dragon fight as well. They got the first Rift held. Okay, they lost the Dragon. They got 2 towers as well. They got so many huge advantages. J-Team were able to get in them little skirmishes, which we know they outperformed Nova in the early game. But the crazy thing is, we saw the gold stats very, very briefly in that replay. Long was the only one ahead. Everyone else for J-Team was ahead. You know, Nova was the only one. He was still ahead. His whole team was behind, but he was still the one that was farming. He was still the one that was ahead on gold. And like I said, it got to the point in the game where they just outscaled. And